You're probably thinking that the most absurd trials are some TikTok joke or a scene from a TV show. But imagine, France, the 14th century. A pig kills a child. What does the village do? No, they don't beat it. They don't set it free. They put it in jail. They put it on trial. They execute it. And stories like this, there are dozens of them. Welcome to the strangest chapter of legal history. France, 1386. A small town of Savigny, Normandy. The entire village is horrified. A 3-year-old child dies from pig bites. It was just an ordinary domestic pig owned by a farmer. But then, things unfold in a way that seems like we're reading a grotesque play, not a chronicle. The pig is arrested, officially, with an act of the case drawn up. It is placed in the same prison cell as human criminals. The next day, a full court trial begins. Local authorities appoint a judge to preside over the tribunal. The main goal, to determine the animal's guilt. And, attention, an advocate is appointed for the pig, a real court-appointed lawyer, assigned to defend the accused pig. This was a requirement of the canon and civil law of the time. The pig is brought to court dressed in clothing. Yes, in human attire, as a symbol of its standing before the law. Witnesses testify about how the pig broke free from the pen and attacked the child. The trial lasts for 2 days. In the end, the verdict is rendered: public execution by hanging. The execution is carried out in the town square, with a large crowd gathered. The executioner, paid from the town's budget, hangs the pig on the gallows, just as he would hang a human. This is no fiction. It's a documented case from the judicial chronicles of Normandy. And what's especially striking, there were dozens of such trials in the 14th to 16th centuries. According to historian Edward Evans, at least 85 cases have been documented where animals were tried and executed in various provinces of France. It wasn't just pigs. Donkeys, bulls, dogs, even goats. Any of them could be accused of a crime, stand trial, and face punishment. Now let's move to the town of Avignon, in southern France, early 16th century. The city faces a crisis. Rats. Thousands of rats. They're destroying the crops, spreading diseases, spoiling grain in the stores. This is not just a domestic issue. It's a threat to the survival of the entire community. What does the church do? What do the town authorities do? No, they don't call pest controllers. They do something that, according to the laws of the time, is considered both legal and moral. They officially summon the rats to court. Yes, literally, not figuratively. Rats are made defendants in a crime, damaging property, causing harm to society. The town priest reads the church summons, and all the rats are required to appear at the trial. The text is read from the pulpit in the main church. The summons formally concerns all animals guilty of deliberate harm to the common good. And then the day of trial arrives. Someone has to defend them. And indeed, an attorney named Bartolomeo Chassenet steps in, one of the region's respected legal experts. He officially represents the rats. In his speech, he claims, "My clients could not appear in court because the journey to the court is unsafe. They are constantly attacked by cats, natural enemies." The court takes this seriously. The hearing is postponed to ensure safety. In other words, the rats are given a second chance and another summons. In the end, of course, the trial leads nowhere. The rats, not surprisingly, don't show up. But the key here isn't the result, it's the mindset. Animals are part of divine order, and when they cause harm, it's not just instinct, it's a moral crime. The most surprising thing is, this isn't the only case. In Switzerland, Italy, and Germany, Dozens of similar trials were held, sometimes against insects, locusts, beetles, even worms. Sometimes animals were exiled or officially excommunicated from the church. Yes, excommunication for rats. Because this was the spiritual worldview, everything living follows not only natural laws, but also God's laws. The most mystical case comes from a village in Languedoc, southern France, in 1508. Residents begin complaining. At night, strange sounds are heard from the swamps near the village. The earth turns black. The harvest fails. The water stinks. People believe it's a curse. Who's to blame? Frogs. Locals believe that these aren't just ordinary animals. They are witches who've taken the form of frogs, or that the frogs have become hosts for evil spirits. The church conducts an investigation. A priest, appointed by the diocese, heads to the swamp to perform an official exorcism ceremony. This ritual is carried out according to exorcism canon. The sign of the cross, incense with frankincense, holy water. A Latin prayer to cleanse the land from demons. But he doesn't exorcise demons from a person. He addresses the frogs. The priest shouts into the swamp, "Spirits, leave the bodies of these creatures, so they may cause no further harm to God's creation." The villagers gather like at Mass. The prayer lasts 2 hours. After the ceremony, the village elder officially declares the swamp cleansed of witchcraft, and in honor of this, an annual procession is held. And interestingly, according to records kept by the diocese, after this, the harvest started to improve, and the frogs croaked less often. Well, at least the people stopped being afraid. Why were such rituals necessary? Because, in the medieval Christian worldview, frogs weren't just animals. They were a dark symbol of the devil's presence, often referenced in biblical texts as a sign of a curse. Think of the Egyptian plagues. And if something in the village was wrong, they would always search for symbolic evil through which Satan acted, and a frog, appearing at the wrong time, fit perfectly into that. Okay, let's be honest. It sounds like a fantasy. A trial of a pig, a summons for rats, an exorcism of frogs. But these weren't acts of foolishness. They were the result of a radically different mindset. The Middle Ages weren't just the Dark Ages, as they used to be called. It was a world of symbols, a world where humans, nature, and God were part of a single system. And if something, a wolf, a pig, or even locusts, disrupted that order, it had to be punished. The belief that animals could sin was quite logical. For example, if a pig kills a child, it's not just an accident, it's a sign of the fall, the devil's interference. The animal, in this case, was considered a creature with a partial soul, something capable of being a vessel for evil. And in order to restore justice, it needed to be tried and punished. Not because it made logical sense, but because it was a moral necessity. And also, this was a form of social therapy. In a world without science, psychology, or reflection, people needed an explanation. If a child died, it was easier to believe that the devil was in the pig than to admit that life was simply unfair. If the harvest was destroyed, it was more comforting to blame the rats than the grain storage system. This worked as a way to calm society. The sin was found. Order was restored. It's easy to laugh at medieval people. Silly peasants judging animals? It seems absurd. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring strange, real stories. In the next episode, The Dancing Plague, when people dance themselves to death. See you soon.